A wet and stormy Christmas for the eastern states and a blistering hot New Year's forecast for much of the nation. Your latest forecast update from Force 13 Australia. So once again, taking a look at our Christmas season forecast update brought to you by Force 13 Australia. We've had a run of fairly severe thunderstorms the last week or so, and it's going to stick around into Christmas and Boxing Day with a low pressure system setting itself up over Victoria, which will bring dangerous thunderstorms to Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland across Christmas Day. Your latest forecast update from Force 13 Australia. Please do consider subscribing and leave a like on the video while you're at it. We've been doing really well lately and we'd love to have your support as well. But taking a look at the nationwide picture, we're looking at hot conditions today across our north, seasonally hot. That's for sure, with a daytime maximum possibly approaching 45 degrees Celsius in some places. Nothing out of the ordinary, but still very warm up there indeed. Severe thunderstorms will develop across much of southeastern Queensland this morning and into early this afternoon. They'll clear off by about this evening, and again, isolated thunderstorms late this evening on Christmas Eve. Expected in Victoria and New South Wales as this low pressure system sets itself up. We'll have rain over the top end and also some showers for New Zealand, so we'll be taking a look at that later on in the video. So we're going to play it right now, the AXS G3 rainfall run. You can see that low pressure system setting itself up Christmas morning, and then it will start to drive those severe thunderstorms into the capital territory and then into southern parts of Sydney and Wollongong. And those severe thunderstorms will extend north around Grafton and Lismore, and then they'll blow through the Gold Coast and Brisbane metro later on in the evening on Christmas Day, probably at around 8 p.m. And these thunderstorms have a great chance of being severe, so you're going to be watching out for damaging winds, large hailstones and locally intense rainfall. Across the rest of the nation, we're going to be looking at thunderstorms again for the eastern states on the run up to New Year's, and also some isolated thunderstorms and showers and maybe even some rain across central Western Australia and the Northern Territory. We'll also be seeing some rain set itself up across southwestern portions of Western Australia, but it looks like Perth is going to miss out of it, so the drought-like condition that we've been seeing there will continue there. Across the top end, it's a very seasonal pattern, evening thunderstorms, evening pulse thunderstorms, and they could be delivering some heavy rainfall across a lot of locations up across our tropical north. Rolling that back and playing it through again, you can see, playing the timer through down the bottom this time, we're looking out for intense thunderstorms across Queensland and New South Wales. That's sort of our headline topic at this time, and into Boxing Day, we're probably going to be looking at a washout actually in the Boxing Day test of across the 26th and the 27th, with heavy rainfall setting itself up around Melbourne, Geelong and down towards Tasmania as well. Now let's take a look at the temperature across Australia. We're looking at very hot conditions, seasonally hot conditions though, might I add, for this time of the year, with daytime maxima possibly approaching 45 degrees Celsius in some places. And as you get closer towards the 27th and the 28th and we get closer to 2024, we're going to be seeing some very, very hot conditions extend across South Australia and the Northern Territory as a result of a low pressure trough extending itself across the inland of the nation. We're going to be seeing daytime temperatures approach 49 degrees Celsius for inland communities such as Birdsville, Ayr and Moomba. So going to be watching out there because that is some very extreme heat. But across the rest of the nation, we're looking at seasonal conditions, very average, maybe slightly above average in one or two places. Perth going for a top of 37 degrees Celsius today. So again, slightly above average, but nothing too much to write home about. And then on Christmas Day, we're looking at a hot forecast for the western parts of Australia and the northern parts of Australia, but cooler than average across eastern parts as a result of the rainfall. Once again, Melbourne could be seeing a very humid day, Christmas Day, with all this rainfall, and also a warm front expected to blow through. So we're taking a look at southeast Queensland and that region for our rainfall forecast. We're just going to be getting a really zoomed in picture on these severe thunderstorms that are going to develop across the next couple of days. Those reds and blacks are very intense storms and they'll be delivering the heaviest of the rainfall. Once again, they're sort of the problem Christmas Day and into early Boxing Day, but they should clear up until about New Year's Eve, where we could be seeing some thunderstorms again firing northern New South Wales and southern Queensland. But it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing our fireworks across Sydney destroyed for New Year's Eve at this time, but it could be a wet start to 2024 there with up to 30 millimeters of rain on the forecast. So taking a look at the satellite picture, you can see a lot of thunderstorms across Western Australia, but they are since dying off and thunderstorms are now starting to blow through Brisbane. We're going to now jump over to the forecast models and see what's in store for Australia and Oceania over the next week or so. Alright, so we're on windy.com right now. You can see we're looking at a stormy picture right now across southeastern Queensland with what looks to be a nice thunderstorm about to blow through south of Brisbane. This could be delivering some heavy rainfall, and I believe there are severe thunderstorm warnings already in effect for parts of Brisbane, north of Coffs Harbour, and extending down to Sydney. In fact, we're looking at quite a lot of lightning activity, which means these thunderstorms are strong and intense. Now, throughout the rest of today, we're probably going to be seeing the thunderstorms ease off initially before we see them refire again, probably around 10 p.m. local time, as this low pressure system sets itself up around Bendigo or Ballarat in Victoria. Now, we're going to be seeing these thunderstorms extend across southern New South Wales, and they'll be blowing further north throughout at late Christmas, even into early Christmas morning. And by the time Santa flies through Melbourne and Sydney, it looks like it's going to be a very wet one indeed. By 9 a.m. local time across Melbourne, we're going to be seeing this heavy band of rainfall set itself up north of Ballarat, around Geelong and Melbourne, and it's going to blow through the metro area as Christmas gets underway, where we could be seeing isolated rainfall totals above 50 millimetres in some places. Now, this very heavy rainfall will turn into heavy thunderstorms and thunder showers in New South Wales. In fact, storms extending across from Albury right over to Canberra in the Capital Territory, and then up towards Sydney, Newcastle, and they'll extend further north to Coffs Harbour, Lismore, Brisbane, the Gold Coast, and they'll even be blowing as far north up towards Mackay and Townsville. We're going to be seeing some very widespread severe thunderstorm activity across the eastern states, and it's going to look very photogenic on satellite imagery, so we're going to be watching that out very closely indeed. But we're just looking at widespread heavy to severe thunderstorms across a lot of New South Wales. It is a concerning forecast, it is, for Christmas Day, so make sure you are taking the proper and necessary precautions and not going outside when there are intense thunderstorms around, because it could get very dangerous indeed, with heavy rainfall that could lead to flash flooding, large and possibly giant hailstones. We could also be seeing damaging and locally destructive winds, so make sure you are prepared for that, and making sure the backyard is free of any debris that could fly around and become a projectile. But over the next 24 hours, we are expecting substantial rainfall totals over a lot of New South Wales and Victoria. In some places, we could be seeing up to 100 millimetres of rain from this thunderstorm activity. We're going to switch over to the Bureau of Meteorology's forecast, and yeah, we're looking at places outside of Ballarat, around Ararat. We could be seeing 130 millimetres from this storm event, and across the New South Wales coastline as well, in the mountainous terrain over there, we could be seeing places pick up to 200 millimetres from this event. And this very heavy rainfall will set itself up into northern New South Wales and southern Queensland. We could be seeing some isolated flash flooding from this weather event. These thunderstorms could potentially be very severe, that's for sure. So that's kind of the headline for the Christmas forecast. Sadly, it is just severe storms after severe storms after severe storms for Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland, and they are very widespread. The entirety of the east coast, the entirety of the Australian Pacific coastline is expecting thunderstorm activity extending right up towards Weipa and Thursday Island in far north Queensland. The only place, in fact, that is going to miss out are places on the coast between Mackay and Cairns, which is great news, because especially around Cairns, flooded communities, the last thing we want up there are severe thunderstorms. So that is some good news indeed. Now, I'll take a brief look as we approach the Boxing Day forecast. We could be seeing some rainfall in the early morning around Melbourne. That could develop into thunderstorms in towards the evening, but it looks like the first day of the Boxing Day test might be a little bit messy with isolated showers and storms around Melbourne, but that will clear out. And as we approach New Year's Eve, we're going to be seeing those thunderstorms once again line themselves up across the New South Wales coastline, but it looks like, thank goodness, they avoid the Sydney area. And at midnight local time, we should be looking at a clear forecast, which is some great news indeed, and I believe light winds as well, so we're going to be looking out for a pretty nice fireworks display in Sydney, which is great news, because that is what a lot of people look forward to every single year. And as we get into 2024, we're looking out for a pretty nice forecast initially at least, but we could be seeing a wet start across parts of New South Wales with severe thunderstorms, of course. It's just this time of the year where we're seeing thunderstorm activity across New South Wales, but we could be seeing a slightly wet start to 2024, and these thunderstorms will extend into Central Australia as well. But the main picture in Central Australia is the extreme heat that we're expecting. Saturday and Sunday, the last 2 days of 2023, we could be seeing daytime maxima approach 48-49 degrees Celsius in some places. So we're going to be watching out for this extreme heat very closely, because this could cause problems in these communities here. Thankfully, this is the most remotely populated place in Australia, so there's not going to be many people affected, but communities such as Moomba, Coober Pedy, Birdsville, and even up towards Alice Springs and around Uluru could be seeing some fairly extreme heat from this event from this trough that's going to set itself up. So make sure you are prepared for the extreme heat, because it will be heat wave conditions where daytime maxima are above that 45-degree threshold, and it doesn't look like minimum are going to be dropping below sort of 30 degrees Celsius in some places. So stifling hot, that's for sure. In fact, 48 degrees Celsius in some places. Now, it's stuff that they are used to down there, but it's still very, very warm weather indeed. And across Western Australia as well, we're also looking at for a potentially very warm end to 2023 with the 31st of December, New Year's Eve. We could be seeing a daytime maximum of 50 degrees Celsius in some places around Marble Bar. So once again, very, very hot over there, but it is seasonal weather. It's seasonally warm weather there. For the rest of Australia, we're looking at sort of average conditions to the coastline. I'm not seeing any places that really stick out like a sore thumb. In fact, the only place that I could comment on being warmer than average is possibly down in Perth, where we could be seeing daytime maxima a couple of degrees Celsius above average. But for the rest of the nation, we're looking at sort of that 30 to 32 degrees Celsius daytime maxima, and maybe cooler in some places, maybe warmer in some places. Down in Tasmania, we might be seeing cooler than average conditions because of prevailing westerlies that are a little bit out for this time of the year, but we will be watching that as well. But mostly nationwide, we're looking at fairly nice conditions. And even across the South Pacific, we're also going to be looking at fairly nice conditions as we enter the New Year's, with the only exception being Fiji, which could be impacted by a pretty significant tropical cyclone December 30th, I believe, which is going to pass just towards the, the east of the Fiji island, the Fiji nation. We could be seeing a Category 1 or Category 2 cyclone blow through there. Now, once again, we were looking at a Category 4 cyclone yesterday, so it's been weakened off significantly by the forecast models, but we will be watching this situation very closely, and if there is a cyclone forecast, you bet we'll be covering it on the Force 13 Australia channel, so make sure you are subscribed for that. But once again, Christmas throughout the South Pacific looking pleasant, looking warm, looking sunny. In fact, it's only Eastern Australia that's getting slammed by this this violent, very wet weather for this time of the year, and maybe New Zealand as well could be impacted by a cold front, but overall fairly average stock standard conditions across much of Australia and the South Pacific throughout Christmas and into the New Year. So overall, bar Christmas Day, we're looking at a good forecast and a very nice and pleasant end to 2023. But I have to just hammer it home that the Christmas forecast is not looking pleasant, and it is advised against spending it outside, considering how much rainfall and how severe some of these thunderstorms could be as they move into Sydney, Canberra and Brisbane and adjacent communities. Now, red and black on this forecast, I have to add intense thunderstorms, especially as you get into the black. We're looking at very heavy rainfall, in fact potentially intense rainfall. We could be looking at totals above 100 millimeters an hour. So yeah, that's just something to watch out for. When you're seeing reds or blacks over your location, that is a sign of fairly intense rainfall, so be watching out for that on the forecast models. But that's the latest from us. We're going to jump over to the graphical Christmas forecast right now and see what is in store for your location Christmas Day, as if we haven't done that already. So here is the graphical Christmas weather outlook for the 25th of December, Christmas Day. This is valid the 24th of December from the Eastern Weather forecast. Now we're looking at very hot conditions over northwest and western Australia. These should keep away from Perth, which is expecting an early maximum but an average temperature for the day. Storms will extend across northwest and western Australia and also across the Northern Territory around Kakadu and into Darwin. And then it's going to be storms and possibly severe storms across Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria, and places that don't receive storms will receive rainfall, with Adelaide expecting 15 millimeters of rain, Melbourne expecting up to 40 millimeters of rain, Sydney and Brisbane as well could be seeing some evening thunderstorms, so make sure you are staying inside and staying safe, because it looks like Christmas Day is going to be a washout across the majority of the eastern states, with a setup that is favouring severe thunderstorms, which is a concerning sign indeed. And across to New Zealand, we're looking at showery conditions, and across the rest of the Pacific around Vanuatu and Fiji, we're looking at sunny average conditions for Christmas Day. But that basically does it for your Christmas season forecast. This is the last forecast before Christmas Day itself, so from Force 13 and Force 13 Australia, I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope you've had a great 2023, and I hope you get spoiled on Christmas Day. But that's the latest from me, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.
Thank you for watching our content this update. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to get more updates covering all things weather and geophysics impacting Australia and the Oceania region. Subscribe to our other channels for more content from across the network, and be sure to check out our website where you can find free access to floater and radar imagery and articles on everything weather and much more. If you wish to support us directly, you can purchase some of our merchandise. We have a wide variety of clothing and homeware, Or you could become an Ultimate fan, which is the best way to directly support us, granting you some sweet perks and offers, including features in our custom storm animations, live streams, and much more.